There are about 70 exotics within Destiny 2. Unfortunately, about 30 of them are either uninteresting, unimportant, or just not powerful enough to warrant the exotic slot over the vast majority of other ones that would easily take its place. I would like to, today, propose a few ideas to adjust, change, and tweak some of these exotics that is more than just the average run-of-the-mill idea that I see in the comments of different videos and on Reddit posts, which is just give it insert champion mod. Let's not waste any time as this video proposes to be long. Let's start with the Salvation Script. Salvation Script is one of those exotics that only got used because it was required in order to get your stasis powers. I'm almost certain that once every Guardian ended up actually getting their stasis abilities, the Salvation Script was never ever touched again. So, I would like to play into this idea of the Salvation Script being a stasis-based utility exotic, not necessarily something that's supposed to be a world-shattering DPS tool. First of all, I would like to propose that it can swap between the different modes, essentially swapping between different grenades by holding down the reload button, similar to how like the Cerberus would swap between fire modes and the Symmetry would swap between different fire modes. This would allow you to play into a specific build that you might have for your subclass. Maybe you're not really playing into the whole Glacier Wall thing, but the Duskfield is more your style, or playing more into slows. Maybe you're a Warlock and freezes are just kind of your thing. Switching it over to the Cold Snap Grenade type fire mode would be absolutely awesome for being able to get some easy freezes off. Similarly, I would like to give it a catalyst that allows the grenade to charge all the way up to the Stasis Revenant's Touch of Winter aspect affected grenades. That was a really long, really nerdy sentence, but basically make the grenade do better. So Glacier Walls will summon in a circle, have one more ice crystal. The Duskfield grenades will spawn with a small crystal in the center, last a little bit longer, be a little bit bigger. Cold Snaps will be a bit angrier, and summon little tiny crystals. This would generally just up the efficacy in general, as well as obviously leaning into the utility. Rolling on to our list, we have Skyburner's Oath. There are a few people out there that absolutely adore Skyburners. I happen to know one of them. I'm pretty sure he worships the thing. It's a religion. It really is. The weapon is terrible. In both PvP and PvE, it is never ever worth using in almost any aspect. Even for activities where you're facing almost purely Cabal, it's just not worth running over some of the other exotics that exist. The damage just isn't high enough. The damage piercing shield capabilities that it has is just something that exists on scout rifles now, depending on the seasonal artifactal mods. So I want to play into the idea of it being a grenade-based primary weapon without making it absolutely ridiculous. I think the solution is relatively simple. Give it full court. This would allow it to actually be something viable for long-range damage because it obviously has a huge travel time. The target will obviously have plenty of time to react. So if they're really, really far away, make it possible to 2, probably more likely 3 tap a Guardian. I think this would make it a very fun choice in PvP. And in PvE, yeah, sit towards the back of whatever room you're in and lob some damage on the boss. Is it going to be the best DPS exotic? Maybe not. But against a Cabal enemy? Yeah, maybe. It has a chance. It at least has an opportunity to be interesting, or at least be something that you can run one night when you're feeling like having a little bit of fun and not feel like you're being a detriment to the rest of your team. Darcy. Oh boy. I love Darcy purely because it's a great measuring stick for ranges of shotguns. I really wish Darcy was something more special, but unfortunately, purely because it sits in the heavy slot, it's not. The weapon by itself is actually pretty solid, but there's been so many new additions to the game that just make Darcy seem like chump change. Like I mentioned, I think the solution to this is really straightforward. Move it to the special ammo slot. As it stands right now, it's the only 140 sniper rifle that can double body shot in PvP, which I think is fair. The scope is great, it's got a lot of aim assist, so PvP, yeah, this would be a great option. PvE, you know, you might be thinking to yourself, maybe an arc sniper in the special ammo slot that does increase damage to critical hits might be something I'll run over the Lament. You never know. It's worth a shot. And I think that if Bungie was willing to experiment with it, it could be an easy thing that they can change. Simply changing it from heavy ammo, special ammo, give it a try, too much, pull it back into heavy. If it seems like it's okay, leave it there. Queen Breakers, I'm gonna keep this brief. The exact same treatment needs to happen like it did to the Darcy. Move it into the special ammo slot. We've already got Arbalest. Arbalest feels pretty balanced right now, especially on console. It was a big problem for a while. And I think if we were to be as careful as we were with Arbalest as we were with the Queen Breakers, I think that would be fine. Oh, Wishender. The ability to Wallhawk seems incredibly powerful in things like PvP, and basically useless in terms of PvE. Not completely, but and there's never really a time where you absolutely need to know exactly where an enemy is. It's pretty telling that this weapon has free access to wall hacks and it still does not get used. I think rather than leaning too hard in on it being a wall hacking type weapon, which we will do a little bit, I think it would be better to give it more utility within PvE. I would like to see it be capable of dealing extra damage the more targets it penetrates. So if you've got a huge line of Thrall or Acolytes or Dreg or whatever it may be, the first target you hit will take normal damage, and then any target after that will take sequentially more and more damage, making it a really fantastic option for crowd control. And in PvP, I would like to subtly add in the ability for it to perfectly synergize with the foe tracers. Foe tracers, if you aren't aware, are a hunter exotic that allows you to, if you ADS on a target long enough, essentially highlight them through walls, similar to how Top to Each Other would give them this little kind of crosshairs. In PvP, it's already too slow really to warrant it being a super viable option, and obviously you can't transfer this information to your teammates without telling them directly where they are, so I think this would make it a really solid support and scouting tool, both in PvP and in PvE, leaning in further on it being a crowd control weapon. Malfeasance. Malfeasance does not have a really solid place in the game, and until it does, it will never see any serious play outside of some people who just like to use the gun because it's fun. Dado pointed out in this video that it's alright for cleaning up trash mobs, but unfortunately its perk will just never proc on them, and the higher tier enemies aren't worth using a primary on. I think an excellent solution to this would be allowing Malfeasance when it's able to proc its intrinsic exotic perk, which if you were able to land 5 shots into a target, all those slugs that you've shot into the target will explode. When that explosion happens, it will feed 5 rounds from your reserves into your magazine. This makes it a far better tool for being able to deal damage to a boss and generally keep you in the fight a little bit longer. It keeps it from getting too far into the realm of just being the end-all be-all, and effectively gives this a weird version of Subsistence, a perk that already exists in the game, but only on higher tier enemies. Cerberus. I love the Cerberus. It is such a fun gun that unfortunately just does not have enough power behind it to really get people to notice how fun this weapon can actually be. If you're ever looking for something fun to try in PvP, try running Cerberus with like a sniper rifle or a bow and watch how hard it is to actually pin you down. The weapon isn't terrible, it's just lacking a little bit. In particular, I think the Catalyst is a crime against humanity. I would like to see the Catalyst just simply add explosive damage to it. This would push out the range of that little focused fire mode a little bit more and would allow it to be a much better option for trying to keep targets off of you at range in the flinch department. This would be a lot of fun, and frankly, I want the ability to do a fully automatic explosive weapon that isn't absolutely busted. Maybe it is. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Leviathan's Breath. Dado had a pretty good suggestion already for this, which is to simply allow the initial damage that you deal to an unstoppable champion be full damage. Pretty good idea. I think would also be really interesting is that being that this is in the heavy slot, and a lot of the heavy weapons are good at clearing out adds, which unfortunately Leviathan's Breath really isn't because it doesn't have a wide enough explosion. I think simply giving this weapon chain reaction, which if you aren't aware, allows when you kill a target for that target to then explode in whatever elemental damage you dealt to it, would make it a really cool option for crowd control, as well as being an okay option for damage on targets such as champions or bosses or whatever it may be. This makes it a little bit more of a versatile weapon rather than it just being purely for I'm just going to use this because I don't have a stun champion mod on and this is my best bet. Coming up on the final two, World Line Zero. I'm gonna say something that is strictly against Bungie's clear philosophy, but I don't think Bungie should be removing or quote unquote nerfing this exotic in its realm of being able to string together really cool, almost glitch-like effects. I think that the weapon should be one of these speedrunners' tools. I think that you should be able to do funny and fantastic stuff such as flinging yourself across the map at 60 miles an hour. Outside of that, if Bungie doesn't want to do that, maybe simply allowing it that after it does its blink strike, capable of doubling its swing speed for a brief period of time, might make it a little bit more viable, where you can blink in on a target, deal a bunch of damage to it, and then maybe get yourself out of there, or just kill the target outright. Last up is the Jade Rabbit, which frankly is probably going to be the hardest weapon to balance because first of all, it's a scout rifle, and second of all, it's a bit of a sleeper weapon in terms of PvP. 150 scouts boast one of the best TTKs in the entire game and can do it from almost any range. Jade sits in a strange spot where it's the best of the worst. If we buff it too much, it will kind of go crazy in my opinion in terms of PvP, but if we don't do anything to it, it will continue to be absolutely useless in PvE. I think the solution to this weapon is to allow the chaining damage of hitting body shots into that headshot. Let that headshot damage be essentially exponential based on the number of shots you hit to the body. In layman's terms, let's say that this is PvP, which right now it takes 6 body shots total to kill a target, which is abysmal. It's a 2-second TTK, absolutely awful. If it allows it to deal 3 body shots, 1 headshot, which is only 1 shot more than if you were to do the optimal 3 headshots, this would make the weapon operate in PvP sort of similarly to how the Malfusions work. This weapon is just a stat king. It's got almost maxed out everything. Only thing it's lacking is reload speed, which obviously you've got a perk that can just keep loading ammo into the magazine. So making it deal a little bit more damage and making it a little bit more consistent in terms of the damage options that you have would be great for PvP. Now for the PvE side of things, if you made this shot, like I mentioned, exponential, that would mean that after 9 shots of chaining body shot damage into that headshot would deal a significant portion of damage, meaning that you're able to keep ammo in the magazine while dealing hefty amounts of damage. It's a simple change to how the weapon operates, going from a linear increase to the exponential increase, but I think that simple change would make it a much more viable option for playing safe and at range in PvE and making it a little bit more consistent in PvP. But let me know your thoughts down below. This is not a one-man show. This is a community effort. I would really appreciate it if you shared this idea around Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, that kind of thing, as I think that these ideas have enough merit that if Bungie catches wind of it, that they might maybe end up doing some of these if they haven't already decided up what they're going to do already. Hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Bless your faces, and deuces.